Moto X Pure Edition, Nexus 6P, S7 Edge, iPhone 6s Plus. Let's go over how I set this up. All phones were factory reset. None of the phones had SIMs in them. The only apps that were installed were the ones for the speed test and the speed test only. No other apps were uninstalled or disabled, and I left everything the way it was from the factory. Remember, these tests are not perfect. There's always a margin for human error. If anything, this is a good way to compare the Snapdragon 820 versus the 808 and the 810 and Apple's A9 SoC. And lastly, I actually wanted to run the S7 Edge speed test multiple times, but I was able to only do it once. Just once. You'll find out why later. So what I'm going to show you now is me trying to rerun the speed test app for the S7 Edge. What happened is when I would open up the clock or the stopwatch, the time was set back to 0, like it had never opened, it had never run in the first place. I'm assuming that the app got shut off or shut down. But this happened every time, and I tried it, I think, 3 times. The only time it worked properly was the very first time I did it. And to keep things constant, I would close all the apps, I would shut the phone off, and then I would turn it back on, and then I would make sure that none of the apps were in the background, and then I would go from there. But every time this would happen. The thing is, every time I would rerun the speed test, it seemed to lag more and more. And yeah, the phone got warmer. I would imagine that's a given, But I would turn it off and I would let it sit for a little bit. I even let it sit for 25 minutes at the very last test, but it still got warm right away, and then it would lag. And that's just, it's not what I expected. The thing is, this isn't a stress test. It wasn't like a heavy intensive load. It was just a couple apps and 2 games. My question is the 820 overheating? And if it's overheating, is it throttling? And if it's neither of those things, could it be the UI? And I already know where this is gonna go. Yeah, all 3 Android phones are running 1440p resolutions, while the iPhone 6s Plus is running a 1080p resolution, but the iPhone is also just using 2 gigs of RAM and a dual-core CPU. I don't know.